Rovaniemi Airport is located in the heart of Lapland, not too far from Santa Claus. But is this an add-on that should be appearing under your Christmas tree this festive season, or has it been rushed out to capitalise off the Christmas trade? In today's Christmas add-on special, I run through all of the features of MK Studios Rovaniemi Airport, taking a look at the interior, the ground textures, the exterior and any little freebies we get on the side, and telling you whether or not I think it's worth it, allowing you to formulate your own opinion at the end. Let's get right into it. So here we are at the front facade of the airport. First of all, let's talk about pricing. So you can pick this up off Orbex Direct for just under 20 Australian dollars. That comes in to just under 11 UK pounds, just over 14 US dollars, which is pretty affordable for an airport. MK Studios have made quite a few add-ons for Microsoft Flight Sim, but as far as I know, Rovaniemi is their first finished one. A bit of background about the area then. This airport is located 6 nautical miles from the city centre of Rovaniemi, with the Arctic Circle crossing the airport at its northern end. So it's basically right on the edge of the Arctic Circle, which I think is pretty cool. Rovaniemi itself is known because basically Santa's village is located just a few miles out of the city. The city of which was almost completely destroyed in World War II, so they basically built it from the ground up. Pretty interesting, but that results in it being a very modern place to live. Airport wise, it sees the likes of Air France, EasyJet, Eurowings, and all the kind of holiday charter airlines, as well as the regulars being Finnair and Norwegian. They claim it features high quality airport buildings with a beautiful terminal interior, airport satellite coverage and detailed terrain mesh. I'll be the judge of that one today, although I've used it quite a few times and even on a stream. My initial impressions is that it's pretty good, but there's certainly a few flaws. Something that sticks out to me as well is that this airport is also used by the Finnish Air Force, as you can see here. I'm not too sure what this is meant to be. I'd imagine a Griffin or something. I just checked and this Air Force base should actually operate the F-18, so I've got no clue what this plane is meant to be. So here I am flying into the airport on runway 21, or onto runway 21. It's always nice to see how it is flying to these airports as opposed to just looking at the scenery. I'd have to say it's a pretty nice airport to fly into, with pretty basic stars and SIDS just kind of putting you in some sort of circuit. The relief around the airport is pretty easy, with very few mountains in Finland that pose a significant threat to flying. And of course the beautiful pine forests really do add to the festive feeling of the whole place. For the majority of the year this airport is snow covered. It's a very pleasant airport to fly into, but let's take a look into the interior of it. So at the front we've got this kind of interesting bus shelter, I guess. It's basically just a cover to stop you getting wet or completely cold from the snow. But not much detailing on the front, I've got to be completely honest. We've got stuff like a few Christmas trees and a few departure boards, but nothing that stands out overtly that makes me think, my goodness, this is impressive. There's also no way directly in, you do have to kind of morph through a wall. Here we are quite evidently at the security kind of area. And it's nice to see that we've got some sort of queue line system, but the shops at the back do kind of ruin the realism. I think the standpoint should really be Pilot Plus's Bristol scenery. That is fantastic. Now this bit I think is pretty good, it looks very nice. Of course those shops at the back do ruin it once again, but you know, with departure boards, these doors over here and detailed gates, I think it looks pretty nice. And the Christmas lights are a pretty nice touch as well. But of course, for the most part, you're not going to be spending your time in here, so it doesn't really matter how detailed this is. I mean, it just looks fairly nice and looks pretty good through the window as well. Also forgot to show you check-in, pretty bland, but once again, not a big deal. Something that I do think is a nice touch is the slightly swaying queue line here. Well, that could just be my camera in fairness, but nonetheless it's got Santa's official home airport on. I quite like that little touch. Upstairs in one of the waiting areas, it looks pretty good, but once again it's pretty plain and some of the textures are clearly just pulled wildly over to fit into the chair. I mean, just look at that. Overall, it's an acceptable interior, but nothing that makes me want to jump out of my seat and exclaim in excitement. It's just acceptable, and it's nice to see they have put some sort of effort in. We now move outside onto the ramp, and I think this is somewhere where this airport really shines. The detailing is pretty nice, ground textures especially are very good. It's a pretty small airport, so it's not like they can kind of go over the top here. It's not going to be as cluttered as the likes of Heathrow, for example, with kind of vehicles everywhere. But what they do provide is pretty good, and it's nice to see that they have actually put some effort into putting the correct language on the signs. Of course, the kind of landmark here is the big Rovaniemi sign. Let's swap it over tonight and take a look. It shines pretty nicely, and it kind of gives us a good view of how the interior looks through the windows. In my opinion, the interior looks a bit better at night, but it feels quite outdated, you know. It's something I could probably quite happily see on Flight Sim X. So far the gates are pretty good in my opinion, with a nice amount of clutter around, although freeware airports do beat it, and the interior is acceptable but frankly a bit of a letdown. I'm now going to take a look at a few of the outbuildings, including Santa's Village, and they do add a bit of scenery outside the airport, such as Santa's Village, which I think is always very nice. Down here we've got the general aviation portion of the airport. Looks pretty nice in the snow. Doesn't look as good when you remove that snow with that bright, vivid grass over there. I think it kind of ruins the realism quite a bit, and it doesn't look like much attention has been paid here. Got a little private hangar over here, but nothing that really stands out. A VOR or NDB, I can't really tell the difference. From what I see here, I'm pretty sure it's a VOR, as NDBs are often more antenna-like. But correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's a VOR station. A nice little touch, but Microsoft Flight Sim does put them in the sim automatically, so I imagine it's here with the standard version. Now it's the military base over here that kind of makes me think, okay, yes, this is starting to be a bit more what I'd expect with a payware airport. We've got some nice models imported in, and although they don't match the proper models, such as what the F-18 should be, it's nice to see that we've got some stuff like fuel pods down there, and a little helicopter popped in. We have also got some sort of ghost walking here, not too sure what that's about, that's pretty creepy. But yes, pretty nice to have some good details over here. More military base kind of stuff over here with what looks to be like a barracks. Overall, there's a nice amount of stuff around the airport that kind of proves its worth to me. If you live in the area, and you've got people that live on the base, for example, then it could be pretty cool to kind of see where they work. The airport terminal itself is pretty well done, and there's a nice amount of stuff around. I haven't taken a look at the control tower because I think frankly it pulls it all the way down. It's completely kind of blocky and it doesn't look very nice. You can kind of see what I mean here. While detail has been played on getting the kind of right model, texturing once again lets it down. I kind of feel that's a general theme here. Even with the main terminal itself, modelling I'd say is pretty much on point, but texturing is where this airport falls short. We've taken a look at a large bulk of the airport now, delving into quite a few features. What do you guys think? I think it's acceptable, but I'm not too sure if I'd willingly pay for it if I wasn't a YouTuber to review it. Let's go take a look at Santa's Village now and see if it can redeem itself. So Santa's Village isn't located very far away. You basically pull yourself out of the front of the terminal and just go on for a few miles and you can already see it. Those snow-capped kind of towers over there is where the big man himself lives. And oh boy, if they paid the amount of attention to detail and texturing that they've done here on the airport, it would have been an absolute winner. It's beautiful over here. I really do like it. With stuff like the shell garage, the road signs, all reflecting what it looks like in real life, I think this has been worked on more than the airport in my opinion. It is very, very festive, really kind of puts me in the Christmas spirit. Although the kind of giant Santa Clauses left around are a bit creepy, admittedly, I think this is pretty good. If you want a nice airport to fly into to come and see Santa, then it certainly does the trick. But I should say, being a guy that likes to speak the truth, there is also a freeware product out there that, while doesn't do as much of a good job, you don't have to pay for, of course. I guess it's a matter of personal preference. In my honest opinion, I think it's pretty decent, but I can't help but feeling it's been rushed out in order to capitalise off the Christmas market, and of course MK Studios is a business, so they're well in their right to do that, but when they're charging £10 for it, I do expect a bit better kind of textures. I think that's the main drawback here. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, maybe I'm being 100% truthful. A lot of detail has been paid to the models, putting them in the right place, making them look pretty good, but I think textures are where this airport falls short. While yes, I would recommend it, I think, yeah, I'd give it a 6 out of 10 probably. It's a fairly nice airport, definitely acceptable for payware, but a lot of work needs to be done, and I can't help but feeling it's been a bit rushed, but there we have it, guys. I haven't talked about taxiway signs. I think they are slightly customised, and I think they're a bit bigger than what Microsoft Flight Sim offers, but certainly nothing that sticks out with me. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I'll see you around. Thank you so much to my first class channel members. They get a shout out. Have a very Merry Christmas. Bye bye.